All right, welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I am your host, Tony Demakis with Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales and the Manufacturing Alliance and everything else that we have going on. It's 11:32. We're slightly late getting started. I'm here with my friend Hillary again because it is Monday. You'll notice the microphone's over here because it's not working. Just
We don't
like
need one.
Sometimes typically happens. You can't count on things to always go smoothly, and it's how you adapt and get through it that matters. And today, we're doing what we can. That's what we're doing. I think it's fitting that we're just doing what we can today. Whatever that means, whatever that looks like, right?
Exactly.
How are you today?
I'm good. I definitely think my day's a little bit better than yours, but I did find out I have to replace my full water line today. So that's
you had to replace your cold water line?
My drinking water line.
Oh, what happened?
It's old and it's leaky, so we're just gonna do the dang thing or replace it all.
Nice. Are you getting something fancy then? Are you getting like a nicer sink or I don't know?
No, it's my underground pipes. It's not in the house. So no good excuse for updated kitchen, anything or bathroom. Nope, none of that. Just, hey.
Well, that's good. I mean, at least you figured it out and you're getting that solved, right? So
yes,
you got that going for you, which is nice.
And when you put something, new in, hopefully I shouldn't have to deal with it again for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be nice for you.
Yeah. How about you?
The day is starting out fairly well. We had a good sales call today. It seems like things are moving well. May have another laser welding machine sold out in Ohio. So that's always really positive news.
Nice.
So that was good, especially right now and everything that's going on. We were able to go out and see somebody and it went really, really well. So that's always positive stuff to hear. And then we had a call with, we use a company called Lead Forensics.
Okay.
To do our marketing tracking for internet, right? So that we can see when people come to the site, what they're looking at, what's interesting, what's not. And we did a pretty good deep dive in that with them and just discussed all the stuff that their software can do. And we've been underusing it. I think that's a problem a lot of people have sometimes when they have software, right? They just underutilize their stuff.
Mm-hmm. And especially, I think with marketing tracking in general, I think we all underutilize tools in general to track that.
Yeah, Christina and I talk about it all the time about how important data is, but we don't do anything with the data.
Yeah, we just collect it and then, okay, so how do we need to pivot? That post didn't reach anyone, so let's see why. Was it the day of the week or
Yeah. So I think it's good for us to do that deep dive and try and figure out, what are we missing? How, what's happening? And so we had a good call with them. We had the whole sales team on so that we could all be on board with what is happening and make decisions together as a team instead of just, a dictatorship of we're going to do this my way because I said so. Amanda says they have a Lead Forensics demo on Friday, and I'll have to fill them in. It's a good software. You just have to commit to using it, right? It's like
I think with anything.
It's like my binder that I have not. Today I'm going to be better. Yesterday I was more lazy than I've been in a very long time. I did not do anything really. I did nothing.
Did it feel good?
I don't like lazy. It bores me.
Well, some days terrible.
I'm terrible at lazy. I don't like to sleep in. I can't sleep in.
So what happened yesterday?
What's that?
So what happened yesterday?
I did too much on Saturday.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. But I thought today we could actually talk on a topic and a subject. of
Sounds
like leadership and management.
love it.
Because I think you're in the same boat that I am, that a lot of people are, right? Where you want to give people the ability to make their own decisions and handle things. You want people that can handle things, and you want to empower people to handle things. And how do you do that? And what does that look like?
I think it's funny that you chose this topic. So I told you I was doing that like Rise Live conference online with Rachel Hollis and other speakers.
Yeah.
And John Maxwell was one of the speakers. And he said, this is the time for leaders. So this isn't the time for anyone else. This is the time for leaders. This is a time of ambiguity and unclarity and uncertainty. And it's not for the, faint of heart. It's for the people who have courage. And so he was just kind of saying how this is the time of leaders. Like, if you've been looking for your time to shine, like, here's your time to shine. Moments like this were created for leaders to shine and grow.
Absolutely. And if anybody knows anything about leadership, it's John C. Maxwell.
Thank you.
Right? I mean, I was actually listening to one of his podcasts, an EntreLeadership podcast today on the way into work, about identifying and establishing your own personal growth.
Yeah.
And your personal growth goals. But we can get down that.
We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But as far as leadership and management, I think it's an ongoing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you guys do is really smart with the DISC testing, because then you learn how to manage and lead people, because everybody has to be led and managed in a different way.
Yes. So I mean, what DISC helps me to do is it helps me to understand my strengths and my weaknesses. So one of the exercises that I actually did this weekend was, what do I value in a leader?
Okay.
And so things that I really value are clear expectations, trust, transparency, like ability to be challenged. So I think with DISC, what it helped me personally do is it helped me to recognize that I am decisive, and that is a positive, but it can also be a drawback if I'm working with somebody who lacks the strength of decision making.
Okay.
So if I'm working with somebody who is opposite of me, and one of their strengths is not making decisions, I might tend to overcompensate and just make the decisions for them.
Yeah.
And so DISC has helped me to see what are my strengths and weaknesses. And then more importantly, though, I think your job as a leader is to flex into whatever the person you're leading needs. So if I tend to like to be direct and to the point. So if I call you and I need you to get something done, I'm pretty much like, hey, I need this done. Great. Awesome. Any questions? Bye. Let's get it done. Whereas some of my team, if they are an S, for example, they want, if I don't call and start by asking them, how's your day going? How was your weekend? They're going to think like, wow, rude. She just called and like demanded something. And
she's not warm and fluffy today.
Yeah. Right. And whereas for me, I'm not trying to waste anybody's time. That's a value to me, but it might not be a value to somebody else.
Right.
So, but yes, DISC is definitely helpful, but I think more important than DISC is, I think with leadership, is understanding it's not about you, it's about them. So any tool you use isn't about you, it's about how it's going to help you help them.
When you say them, you mean the people that you are leading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with learning style. So if I find out that somebody is auditory and I'm a very visual person, it's not for me to tell them they need to be visual. It's for me to understand how I can better serve them.
Rachel says, she was, because Kylie said that John Maxwell was amazing at the Rise conference. And Rachel was asking the Rise podcast. And again, I'm just reiterating the conversation. Kylie's commenting that you guys both attended that conference. What is that conference?
I kind of mentioned it last week, but Rachel Hollis is she her and her husband own Hollis Co. And they do books. They write personal development books. They have podcasts. They have blogs.
Yeah.
And she does conferences, which are like personal development conferences. And they're usually out of state, so you got to travel. They're not cheap. And so Kylie and I have always wanted to go to one. And because of COVID, she hosted a COVID-focused, courage-based virtual conference. Which we then had access to for 2 weeks. So Kylie, myself, and another employee, Victoria, all three of us attended it virtually, and have kind of been growing and learning, and got to do it from our home, and we're taking advantage of the opportunity.
The only time I got to see John Maxwell live was at the Global Leadership Summit, and that was really good. But yeah, I really like, I mean, everything he says just kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he's like just this like wisdom, just big. He was really great. He told a story about how he like at 71 went and ran walked a half marathon, no training, just was like, oh, they're having a half marathon, let's do it.
Yeah.
And the person who he was with could run miles and miles and miles, but stayed with him because he was being his leader in that moment. And it was about him and supporting him. And, at one point he even said, John, stop talking. I'm going to talk and you just listen. So I'll keep the conversation going and motivate you. You focus on breathing and finishing the race. So, yeah, he was really great. The whole conference was great. But it was focused a lot about being a leader right now. And even if it's for your children, you're leading them.
Totally. And, I think, sorry, earthquake. I think right now what's a little bit difficult is having to lead 24/7. I think that's, if I liked anything about my day off yesterday and my day of lazy, is I didn't really make any decisions besides to be lazy. And I just kind of tuned out. We watched Maleficent. We hung out. I went and I dropped off a couple of our happy masks that we had made.
Let me see.
Oh, I'll show you. It's my kids think it's incredibly creepy, and it is, but
oh my gosh.
Look at that, huh?
It's just because it's blown up, but yes, there we go.
Yep. See, you can't help but laugh and be happy, but it does fog up your glasses.
Well, all masks fog up.
We did. Jack and I went out and we delivered a few of those yesterday, and it was really nice to not be on, to just be able to be.
Yeah, that's my Friday nights. Usually on Friday nights, if my work is not done by 6, I commit to doing it the next morning. And Friday nights are my time that I don't do a workout Friday night. I relax. If I want to watch stupid TV, I watch stupid TV. And I only need a small recharge of my battery. Some people need a day's worth. So
Kyle Claudia says, you need to do that as a leader. Make yourself uncomfortable and grow. For me, for Tony, he says, Tony's homework is to be lazy every once in a while.
I like it. Yeah.
I'm so not good at it.
But I think once you start building like anything, once it becomes a habit, like if somebody tries to take away my Friday, it's very hard for me to make plans on Friday because it's just built into my week of like, I'm not cleaning the house Friday night. I'm not hanging out with anyone Friday night. Those are my nights. And once I built them in, it gives me like supercharged energy for Saturday. I actually want to do yard work or go hang out or something.
So how do you handle this? You have people in your organization, somebody has a problem with somebody else or another person of position of power. And they come to you. Do you become the moderator between those two people? Do you tell them to just go to that person and figure it out? Do you go to that person yourself? Does it depend on the circumstance?
It definitely depends on the circumstance, but by default, I try not to be especially when it comes to communication, because our company is built on communication and everybody in our company has amazing resources at their fingertips to enable them to communicate. So by default, I like to just do things for people. I'm a fixer, I'm a doer. Yeah. That's my default. But especially when it comes to communication, and this is something I've really learned since being at Westminster Tool, is you don't have to fix it for them, but you can point them in the right direction. So sometimes if there's I can't say we have too many challenges amongst people, but it definitely happens. And in that instance, I would say, okay, well, one of the biggest things is we want you to replace judgment with curiosity. And typically when there is a miscommunication or a challenge with somebody, it's because they're misinterpreting each other's views.
Okay.
So the first thing that I would do is challenge them to say, how do you think they're feeling? Have you thought about it from their viewpoint?
Yeah.
So, okay, somebody asked you, you have to work late. Okay, well, did they, in their mind, when you're upset, you're like, they just want me to work late. They don't care about me. Okay, well, why did they ask you to work late? Did you ask them, what responsibility do you have in this situation? Did you fail to communicate that you had weekend plans maybe with your grandparents? And maybe if you had communicated that, you guys could have worked out a solution. But I will say that's one of my weaknesses is wanting to jump in and just fix things for people.
Yeah, because you're a fixer.
I'm a fixer, and it takes longer sometimes to coach people to a solution than to fix it yourself. But if you compound all those times you fixed it yourself, you're spending more time because you're going to continue to have to fix it versus, investing the 30 minutes up front instead of the 10 minutes and never having to do it again. Just like my pipes. Fix the whole pipeline once.
Yeah, I was going to say it's just like having kids where, not that it's just about leadership, right? You can't expect your kids to know how to do the things that you want them to do to your standard unless you coach them and teach them those things. Otherwise, you can't hold them to that standard because they're going to fail.
Yes. Yep.
Not that the team that's working under you or with you are children, but it's the same idea of bringing them along and explaining the things little by little. Yeah.
And I think we also have things to learn. So it's easy if you put yourself back into the mindset of, for example, me currently working on doing pull-ups for the MERF.
Yeah.
If somebody continues to come over and, hold my feet up for me to make it easier, I'm probably never going to be able to do it. And while I'm grateful in the moment, at the end of it, when I haven't gotten any stronger, I'll be frustrated. And you got to remember, and you and I both know, if somebody tries to step in and compensate for us or just fix it for us, I get frustrated.
Yes.
So you have to.
Well, and that becomes that micromanagement thing. But Kyle said, what was that tagline about curiosity? I mean, he says it sounds like the title of a book.
I just say, we say replace judgment with curiosity. And it is, it's all over the place. It's like emotional intelligence 101.
Yeah. Rachel says, it's so true. Taking the time and coach and be patient is such a hard lesson to learn, but ultimately it makes everybody on the team stronger. Wise words, Hillary. She's so smart, isn't she?
Just speaking of Rachel, and we kind of talked about this topic earlier with the need to make decisions.
Yeah.
I don't know if you went to it, but the AMBA did that virtual leadership confab. Is that what
on fear and change and everything?
Yeah.
Yes.
And one of the things was about all the decisions you make and the normal human compared to the leader.
Yes.
And you had touched upon that point earlier, and she just reminded me that that's a point we should talk about, is the need to make so many decisions, not just and it can be draining on your brain.
Right.
So.
Because what I find is, and I've heard this so many times, I don't know who said it first, but they're absolutely right. Indecision is a decision. Mm-hmm. So just, and Gary Vaynerchuk, who I love, and I'll talk about him all the time, he always says, make a decision. There's a good chance it's going to be wrong, but then you make another decision based on that one. But you can't just do nothing and stay stagnant, because that's a decision and there's nothing being done. You're not moving forward or backward at that point. You're just in a state of just, being paralyzed.
Yep.
So, take the information you have right now and make a decision based on this. And then you can't look back from that decision. You know,
Yep.
3 decisions down the line, you can't beat yourself up then and go, I shouldn't have done that. That was a bad idea.
Yes. Well, and you don't want to take up that much of your mental space thinking about what has or hasn't happened. That's its own whole conversation about making decisions and letting go. But one of the other things that was said in the conference, I don't know who said it this weekend, but it said, it's kind of, I think it's based on Luke. I think I might have it written down. Okay, yeah. Luke 12:48.
Okay.
This concept of to whom much is given, much is expected.
Oh, yes.
That concept of, so when you are, thinking about, how it's about them and not me, or, the 3 times the amount of decisions we have to make in the day, you have to remember that concept that,
Yeah.
You're given control, you're given flexibility, you're given whatever it might be that you're given. And in exchange, when you're entrusted with these people that you're leading or who report to you in your business or your children, when you're entrusted with them, it comes with responsibility. You can't just have somebody looking at you and not have added responsibility.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, if you're listening and you're not a believer and you go, I don't want to listen to Luke, listen to Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
There you go. Thank you.
You can go with Luke or you can go with Peter Parker. Either one is right.
Same concept.
Yeah, but I think that goes back to the leadership and micromanagement and your management style. Do you, as a leader, do you go, listen, I'm giving you the autonomy to make these decisions. I want you to have, I don't want to watch every move that you make and make every decision for you, because otherwise there's no growth for that person.
Right. I think micromanagement gets like a bad rep, but I think it's important to know your audience. So for some people, the clearer and more defined expectations you have, and the more now, if the expectation is that, I'm expecting you to be able to make these decisions on your own and execute things, which I personally tend to expect that. If we can come to agreement on what the partnership looks like, sometimes a little micromanagement is what is needed or to support them. Maybe not all the time, but maybe on a specific project. Because
to right the ship a little bit, right? To get it back on target, to just.
Yeah, because I tend to be very hands off. And sometimes that's not what, somebody I'm leading deserves.
Sure.
They deserve a little bit more direction, guidance, and check-ins. But I always say, I will always support you and do whatever you want, but I can't read your mind. So you just have to tell me.
Yeah, we gotta have open and honest communication too.
Yeah.
I think that's key, is in a leadership role, is being honest and open with the people that you're leading, to the point of what you know, and I guess what they need to know.
Yeah.
Does that sound wrong?
No, like communicate the hard stuff. Like, don't be afraid to communicate what's needed in order to get the job done.
Yeah.
But
you don't have to like blah, 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 blah. You don't have to spill out everything. You need to communicate the end goal, what we're trying to do,
and what's necessary to get there.
Yeah. And sometimes you want people to fill in those blanks to figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
Corey says, when is a good time to let someone fly solo and be autonomous? Describe some characteristics allowing someone to be free and fully own responsibilities.
So I went to a management training. It was a while ago now, but they had this little curve, and it shows, it's like 4 quadrants, and there's the 2 quadrants are, they're like, can completely go on their own. You give them a little direction, they can interpret it and execute. And the person who has no experience, has no confidence, and requires immediate direction. And then there's the two in between, maybe the person who wants to get it but needs direction, and the person who gets it but doesn't want to do the work. So I think it's about communication. Like, I definitely have had, at the end of the day, if you're not on the same page, you won't know. So I try to, when I'm passing off or, delegating a task, say, is there anything you need from me? No. When's a good time to check in? Do you want weekly check-ins, or do you want me to review this before you send it? So we have somebody new on our team that we're training in marketing. By default, her first few, I was like, I'm going to read. I don't give the opportunity. Yeah. Then before just saying post it on your own, I ask, do you want me to read this before you post it? Or do you want to just upload it? And at that point, I'm demonstrating my confidence in them, but I'm being there to see if they still need it. And then if they continue to send them to me and I was like, they're perfect every single time and I don't make any edits, hopefully I'd have some data to be like, hey, the last 5 I've reviewed, I've made 0 changes to. I think you're good to go on your own. But it's tough because it's tough for us to say when they are or aren't ready, especially in the beginning. Maybe once you have data to say, okay, you've done 5 setups and you've never needed my input, you're good to go. With our academy, like the whole go on your own versus, we have that in the academy. There's 33% proficient means you've been shown how to do it. 66 is you can do it with some direction. And then 99 is, and 100 is you can do it on your own. We don't have a standard of you've done it 5 times or 10 times because it depends on the thing. And we don't want to lock us into, you have to show somebody you can do it 5 times, when in reality, if you've done it once, they can trust that you can do it on your own. So we kind of leave that up to the discretion of everyone.
Yeah. And I mean, my answer would be, how do you know when you can let someone fly solo? I think they start to prove it. I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Like when the bird jumps out of the nest for the first time, you don't know if that bird's going to be able to fly, and then it flies. And it depends on the person, because sometimes you have to put a little bit of pressure, like that same class that the AMBA had. They were talking about stress versus performance.
Yeah.
And how there is a balancing out where for a long time, more stress equals greater performance. But then there is a level of diminishing return where it just drops off like a cliff because you've overstressed that person.
Yeah.
But if that person knows that you're going to just sweep in and save the day every time, the performance can drop because they know somebody else is going to take care of it.
Yeah. It's like your kids. Same thing with your kids.
Yeah.
You continue to put their shirt on for them, you'll never know if they can put their shirt on by themselves.
Exactly. So I think maybe one of the things that we do too much here, and I don't know, somebody from our company, if anybody listens, they'll tell me, is I think that we give people a lot of freedom at first, and we see what they can do, we see where they're at, and then we dial it back and try and figure out where we can help, where we can improve. But we also want to see, what do you know? What's your skill set? What can you do on your own, right? Like Kylie, who does our marketing, she would tell you that I probably am not a great communicator as well as good as I think I am, because in my brain I say something and I know exactly what I mean. I know exactly what I'm saying, and it's clear to me. She might disagree a little bit. So her and I have had different conversations about how to do things better going forward. And I admit it, I'm not great at everything. My wife, if she's listening, she'll tell you the same thing. Sometimes I think I'm communicating, but I'm not totally there. Scott Peters says we are describing the 4 levels of competence. Level 1, unconsciously incompetent. Doesn't know. Level 2 is consciously incompetent, has an idea of what they don't know. Level 3 is consciously competent, knows what to do, but has to think about it. And level 4 is unconsciously competent, knows what to do and does it automatically.
Yes. And then the other side of that is that if we are, you just hit the nail on the head with what happened with Kylie. So that's like, for example, I say social media, and I say, hey, you need to learn social media. Well, in her mind, she's like, okay, I know that there's these 4 social medias. When I created my map, there was 1 lesson, social media. There's now 50 lessons because it's how to schedule a post on Facebook. Who's our audience on Facebook? Who's our audience on LinkedIn? Who uses Twitter? How to schedule a post? What's the image size for these things? These are just things that over the years I learned in my head. I'm unconsciously competent, whereas she doesn't even know what she should know. So you're kind of trying to figure out how to bridge the two. Who was that? Scott, you said?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Scott Peters.
Thank you.
Again, listening to the John Maxwell today, we'll go back to John Maxwell because, again, great leadership and personal growth. And what he was talking about is the person that thinks or says they don't have anything else to learn has the most to learn. Because the person that admits, I am nowhere near an expert on this, they know that they have more to know. They know what they don't even know. And I think that's part of your curiosity, the Westminster curiosity, is don't think just because you've been a mold maker for 10, 15, 20 years that you know everything. Right. Kyle says, wait, I'm going to read it first. Okay. I noticed that Timothy Stoll had asked us a question, so we'll get back to that before we head off. Yes. I want to encourage and embrace the engagement. Yeah, I love it. Kyle said, I like giving enough leash, but it can also be lazy. Taking the time to understand your new members and not putting them in place to fail or lose confidence with a larger team is important. That's a great point. That's a great point. Because I've also been guilty of that, where I give the leash and I know what I know, and I think, oh, everybody knows this. That's just how it is. And again, that's my lack of communication. Timothy said, how was Westminster's emotional intelligence, or how has Westminster's emotional intelligence been uniquely helpful during this particular time? Yeah, so I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think any emotional intelligence training could prepare you for COVID. I definitely think it's been useful in the sense of it's in our back pockets. I definitely think I have and I think the entire company has been stretched out of our comfort zone, and therefore skills like emotional intelligence that you might know, they're not right there when you're stretched out of your comfort zone. You're forgetting about maintaining curiosity and what's your values and why are you so upset about this? What's important to you, making you so upset about it? Being curious. So one thing I will say though is it comes back to when Kylie and I did our mental health training. We focused. We didn't do any new training. We just focused on emotional intelligence, on understanding what's within your control, understanding what you value and what's important to you, understanding what does emotion feel like in your body so that you can recognize it and actually process it. Putting your head down and saying, I'm fine and I feel great and, COVID what? That's not emotional intelligence. And so I think it's just we have an emotionally mature team that's able to have discussions like that. Yeah. But it definitely, I don't think it was a lifesaver. I think nobody could really expect this. And everybody, no matter what tools in your toolbox, is having to flex, adapt, and learn new things. Yeah, absolutely. So you said a couple things that made me think of 2 things from the weekend. One of them was taking in that emotion, actually embracing it and then dealing with it. We just started watching Lost with Jack. Kelly and I started watching Lost. And we're on the first episode. And Jack is talking about how, not Jack, my son, Jack, the guy in Lost. He is talking to Kate and he says, the first time he was in surgery, he clipped spinal cord and he was just consumed with fear and he didn't know what to do. And he told himself he was going to give himself 5 seconds to be afraid and then move forward. So he gave himself those 5 seconds, embraced everything, took it all in, and then moved forward. I think that's so awesome. I mean, it's not every day that you can get something from Lost, but I'm going to try and use that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I heard something like that similar too. It was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. But embrace it, right? Like, yes, I'm feeling this.
Mm-hmm.
And just give yourself that space, that countdown space.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing was the flex, right? So Elevation Church, we watched Elevation Church with Pastor Furtick, and he was talking about flex space and leaving some space open so that you can flex, because you don't know what you're going to use that for yet. But don't totally fill yourself. Don't fill every moment of your day, every moment of your house, every moment of everything, because you need to be flexible. But it's also when you're having struggles and times of weakness and times of difficulty, that's God's flex space in your life so that he can be stronger where you're weaker and having those issues. So
that's a good point. I might go listen to
two things from this weekend I was able to bring right into the conversation. That doesn't always happen. Kyle said that season 4 almost ruined his marriage.
Oh no.
I would say, Kyle, get back on it. It ends well. You should finish that out. Scott Peters is on Facebook, and he says, when bringing new people on board, it's important to give them a concept of the local language. I remember sitting in a meeting with a new team member, not mine, but they wanted to know what parts were needed to build our product. The response from the materials manager was quite succinct, but confusing. Simple, just explode the BOM. Imagine the look of shock on the face of the person that doesn't understand the local dialect. Sometimes a simple company dictionary is important to aid to the communication.
Yes.
Scott is so smart.
Scott, honestly, I was just going to say, I have to say thank you to all 9 of you watching right now. Yeah. Because you've been so great and engaged today, and it really makes the conversation, I think, just flow better. And I'm so grateful that it feels like we're here looking at each other, but it feels like we're in a room full of 5, 10 people having a conversation.
No, I agree. I love the interaction. I was talking with my brother when I had the call with Alex Hoffer, and he was like, "You're not answering anybody's questions." And I was like, okay, first of all, I can't tell Alex, stop talking. I can't tell Hillary, stop talking. Timothy asked a question. It's got to be in the natural progression of the conversation.
We're getting better every week. Your conversations in general, like they're flowing. Usually whenever I'm not on this call, my lunch time, the 11:30, 12 to 1 time is like mayhem. And I think I do a lot of meetings and webinars. Yeah. So I'm always catching up on them later, and they are flowing. The consistent engagement, I think, just makes it awesome. So it's not just 2 people, it's whatever anybody else.
I really appreciate the people that are giving us time. Yeah. And spending lunch, or if it's not lunch, just like jumping on for a little while and asking some questions. I mean, yeah. That's our growth. That's, yes. And I appreciate the feedback. Like, Charles is great at calling me out when I screw things up, let me tell you. And that's fine. But I don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring this out like everybody else, little by little. But it's just fun to be able to have these conversations with everybody. Scott Peters says he's not so smart. He's just been through a few things in his life. Scott's actually going to come on. We're going to do a chat and chow. We have to figure out the date, but he's coming on. So awesome. Yeah. I love it. I love that people have enjoyed this a little bit, and I've gotten some positive feedback. So I'm going to keep doing it. I mean, as long as people are watching, we're just going to keep having more shows. Yes. And just working through it. And if there's topics that anybody wants to have covered, let us know, and we'll cover those topics. Because I usually go by what occurred in my life. That's what I want to talk about. Yes.
I was just going to say, while we have all of you here and it's so well engaged, if you do have any topic ideas, either for Tony and I to talk about on Mondays or for Tony to chat in general in one of these, it'd be awesome if everybody could give a topic right now, since everybody is here and so engaged. Let's take advantage of it if you don't mind. If you don't mind, everyone.
Yeah. So I think, I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning with micromanagement and leadership. I think the leader's job is to know when people need more direction and when they don't, and to really understand that person and put themselves, like you said, in that person's position, right? Don't just be the dictator. One of my favorite books, Reach. This is one of my favorite books Greg from Paragon gave me this book.
Writing it down.
The Servant.
And who's it by?
James C. Hunter.
Okay.
That is a great book. And it's all about being a servant leader and what that looks like and how it works. And I would recommend that book. Greg from Paragon told me that every person in their company gets a copy of that book and they read that book. And he mentioned that he's read it probably 8 times at different spots in his life. And it means different things to him at different spots of his life. From being a parent to a grandparent to a smaller level leader to a higher level leader, all the things along the way speak differently to him as that happens.
Yeah, I love that. That's why when people, if you get a chance, do reread books that you really got something out of, because I get something new out of most of them every time I read them.
Yeah.
One new thing you overlooked. It's like when you watch a movie 15 times, and the 15th time you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that happened.
And I don't necessarily even know that it's you overlooked it the first time. You just weren't in that season. You weren't in that place yet, so it didn't resonate.
Yeah.
I'll say all the time, like I'll read a whole book and I'll take maybe 5 things out of it. That's it.
Yeah.
And then the next time I read it, I feel that same way where I'm like, why didn't I get this? Why didn't I understand that? Yeah. And the things that you thought were important that I went through and I underlined, I'm like, who cares about that? That doesn't mean anything to me.
Yep.
We got Kyle wants some marketing knowledge. Rachel is talking about topic suggestions, including isolation takeaways. What have you learned during quarantine? What's one thing you see or do differently today because of it? Okay. Kylie wants to talk about time management. I'm not going to cover that one. I mean, that's not my strong suit. I need to get better at that. That's one of the things that I need to improve on in my life. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's exactly right. Think about your seasons as a Christian and reading and understanding the Bible. Yeah. Different times you read it and you go right through. Yep. And then other times you get a whole new takeaway from all of it. Yep. It's great. 12:15. We did great. This was a really great conversation. I thought so. Yeah. I hope other people got something out of it. I mean, and maybe that's something that you and I could do. We're going to talk about this while we're here because that's real and authentic, right? Maybe we just need to make a point like during the weekend, I think we should talk about this. This is what's happening in my life right now. Let's talk about this. This is relevant. Let's make that the main focus. I mean, we're going to spiral out of control a little bit, but yeah. I mean, today I've been feeling that a little bit about micromanagement and how to handle that and what the good balance is between the two. Yeah. It's extremely relevant right now. Like I'm responsible for the entire work from home team. So it's been a challenge to normally we have freedom, but we're sitting right in front of each other. There's nothing to hide. Yes. You know, we have our metrics. We're meeting every day talking about what we're working on. So kind of finding a way to manage. Yeah. At the same time, support that I don't want to take away all the freedom and abilities that people have to make their own decisions, but I still need to make sure that they're supported and managed appropriately. So it's definitely been relevant. I think it was a great topic. Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons it all kicked off was I had this in my brain, like I wanted to see more social media posts. Mm-hmm. And so I reached out to Kylie, our Kylie, not your Kylie. And I was asking like, why are there not more posts? And she was like, well, that's intentional because I've done the research and I've seen that you should have X amount of posts and X amount of time, and at these times of the day, it works the best. So in my brain, I was going, why aren't we doing more stuff? And she had a whole reason.
She had it.
Why.
Right.
And so then I was asking, okay, so what are you working on during the day? And she was like, what, do you need to see a list of everything I'm doing? And she wasn't being mean. She was just asking. But we were going back and forth on email, which you can't tell tone on email at all. So at one point, I thought she was saying, what, do you need me to send you a list of everything I'm doing?
You don't trust me.
She was saying, would you like a list so that you know what I'm working on? I mean, it's totally different conversation then.
Yeah.
So I sent her a message and I said, let's have a Zoom call tomorrow. I just want to see, like, let's talk face to face. Because I think there's something special about being able to see that person and their expression and their body language and what's happening in their face and just everything. You can't tell that through an email or text, and even sometimes on the phone, because on the phone, I can roll my eyes at you and you don't know that.
Yep.
So we had a really good conversation, and it was the communication and it was the leadership and me not, as a leader, not communicating what I was expecting and what was important to me.
And checking your ego at the door so you could admit that you had messed up and hear her side.
Yeah, absolutely. Timothy gave us a topic suggestion. How do you choose and maintain priorities? How has your faith been impacting your work? How has your work been showcasing your faith? Oh,
good one.
That's Monday.
I love it.
Yeah, that'll be the full topic on Monday. That's what we're gonna go with. Just all of those. How about that? We'll get all of those things in one.
Are you saving them somewhere for us?
Yeah, I'm gonna copy and paste this whole list right now so that I have it.
Thanks, Timothy.
Yes. And I'm trying to get Timothy to come on as well. It just hasn't happened yet. I'm saying it will, but it hasn't happened yet.
Timothy, you can join us on a Monday.
Look at that. Look at that. We can do that.
Yeah. Another guinea pig.
Does anybody on Facebook or YouTube world have any prayer requests before we get out of here for today and go about the rest of our day and be great as leaders and people in the industry?
I have two.
No, do you have something?
Yeah, I have two. The first is just a sense of smart decision making as we go back into the world. And I just pray that we are able to do so safely and that we're able to progress as a country forward. And with that concept, just a prayer for all of the people whose life events have been impacted by this, and understanding that there's probably something, like you said, that shifting, there's probably are you still able to accomplish the main goal? With graduating, yes, you're missing the celebration, but did you still graduate college and get a degree? Yes. Sure. With your wedding, maybe you can't have 100 people there, but are you still married? So yeah, those are my two. Sorry. Okay. Dump some big ones on you.
No, those are great. That's great. It's great. Whatever you need, right? That's what it's. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for another opportunity to talk with my friend and another opportunity to bring some joy and positivity to people's lives. I pray that this would be useful and encouraging to anybody that's listening now or would be listening in the future. I pray as leaders that anybody's listening, right? Everybody that's listening is a leader in some way, whether you are running a company or managing a division or just leading yourself and your family, you are leading. Pray that you would be wise and make good decisions that put not only your interests at heart, but the people that you're leading's interests first. And that will make you better and everybody else better. God, we pray that we would be able to lead like you did, selflessly. And we pray for everybody to have that sense of gratitude and joy that even though things are not going exactly how they may have planned, they are going according to your plan, and that's the plan that actually matters, matters most. And the rest of it we will figure out. We pray for peace and comfort during COVID for everybody, that we could just trust in you and trust that it's going to work out the way that it's supposed to work out. We pray that everybody's listening would be safe and healthy, and that their businesses would pick up, and that they would be prosperous, and that through all of it, you would use all of this for our good and for your glory. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so we got some stuff coming up in June. We've got stuff coming up on Thursday and Friday of this week.
You got the lineup or no?
I can pull up the actually, no, it's going to be on LinkedIn. It's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on Instagram. It's going to be wherever. And if you guys enjoy this at all, and you listen to this and you enjoy it, please pass it on to somebody else, whether they're in our industry or they're not. If you think that anybody will gain any benefit at all, throw it out there. That's my shameless plug. We don't make any money on it, but it's just trying to keep conversations growing and keep everybody connected.
Yeah.
So I would just where's my thing here? I got to pull this up. Yeah, I would just like to thank everybody for, again, giving us their time and spending some time with us and doing what we're doing. And I want to thank you for continuing to be my partner in crime on this and make it fun.
I love it. I look forward to my Mondays.
Good. Well, it's always good talking to you. Until next week, unless you need anything in the meantime, I will talk to you then.
Okay. Have a great day.
And for anybody else that's still listening, thank you for listening to our Chat and Chow for the Manufacturing Alliance. Again, I'm Tony Demakis at Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales, and we will help you with anything that you have going on with your mold-related products, whether it's polishing, laser welding, laser engraving, hot runner manifold cleaning, or you're looking to add laser welding and laser engraving as a service. Let us know. Give me a call, and we will be happy to help you out. Until next time, take care, and God bless.